Okay, good afternoon and welcome to this lunchtime information webinar on our new suite of professional diplomas in communications. This online session will hopefully answer your questions on what these new online flexible programs are and what they can do for you in your career and the industry that you work in. My name is Claire Barry. I'm the Marketing and Communications Officer for UL at Work, which is a initiative to deliver professional education programs that respond to the skills you not only need now, but also in the future to stay relevant, up to date and ahead of the curve in your career. UL at Work is delighted to announce the launch of these new 3 online programs on offer this autumn. The programs we'll be exploring today are Communications and Digital PR for Enterprise, Data Communications, and Digital Content Development. We will also be adding great value to this conversation to talk a little bit about ChatGPT and the impact it's having. So we'll be looking at what are the challenges this is causing to the communications domain. Are there benefits and opportunities to be sought? We know it's a hot topic at the moment, but more on that later. Before we get started, I just want to direct your attention to some housekeeping. When you entered the call, you would have seen the notification on this call being recorded. We are recording this for the purposes of playback for those who couldn't attend and may wish to link in later, or indeed if you want to play it back yourself. You'll see our chat function is open on this webinar session, and we would welcome and encourage you to answer your questions or to ask your questions, and we will answer throughout. I'm ably assisted today by course directors for each programme, as well as the UL at Work team, so all of your questions will be responded to. Links to all of the programmes will be added to the chat, as well as contact details to engage with us beyond the webinar. We are here to help. Okay, let's get started. In alphabetical order, of course, we are starting with throwing a spotlight on our new online professional diploma in Communications and Digital PR for Enterprise. Eva Sheehan is our course director and a seasoned digital marketing PR professional and lecturer. With over 10 years of experience in the industry, Eva brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to the classroom. Dedicated to imparting her skills to the next generation of professionals, Eva is passionate about helping others succeed in the fast-paced world of digital PR. Eva is a creative problem solver and, believe you me, an excellent communicator, and she strives to help her students succeed. Keeping up with industry trends and incorporating the latest technologies into her classes makes the classes both engaging, worthwhile and relevant. So I'm going to hand you over to Aoife. Good afternoon, Aoife.
Thank you, Claire. Thanks, and thanks everyone for joining us here today. So I'm just going to share my slides here right now. Oh God, sorry. Now it's just Murphy's Law here now. Sorry. It's looking to update a driver. I'll just go on now. Sorry, Claire, I'm just having a technical issue here.
That's always the way. Take your time.
Yeah, I'll just go here again.
There you go.
Okay, can you see that now? Sorry, it's asking me to update a driver. So I'm just going to pop into this here now, okay? Slideshow. Okay, sorry about that technical glitch there. Okay, so you can all see my slides here. So what I'm going to take you through today is the Professional Diploma in Communications and in Digital Public Relations. So who is this course for? So first of all, I suppose it's for anyone who aspires to work in this area. You might already be working in the area of, communications and PR. It might be somebody who wants to change tack. You might be in a different industry. You might be currently working in a multinational or a small to medium enterprise, or you might be working on your own, and the resources just mightn't be there to hire someone full-time in this area, but it's something that you're interested in. It's something that you feel that you can add value to your company in, and that you can, you have the interest in, and you want to work in, the area of maybe social media management, content creation, email marketing, and as well as that, I suppose looking at the all-round area of communication. So whether that be the traditional communication of, your TV, your radio, your print, or else the ever-evolving, changing world of, technology, as we've seen so many advances today. And it's interesting, even I'm looking at, the course that might go ahead in September, saying, you might include X, Y, and Z platforms, but come September, they could be out of date by then. So it's something that we always have to be monitoring, changing. And I think for anybody interested in the space, it's something that, it's a great field and it's a really rewarding one to work in. So as I mentioned, there's some of just the areas that, people could be working in currently, the types of industry as well. And I suppose on completion, the learner, when they go away from this, it would hope that they can, excel in this field and really drive on the communication, whatever industry that they're in. Okay. So just looking at the key features and content, I've broken it down into both semesters. So in the autumn semester, we will look at digital PR for enterprise. So I myself will be delivering that module. So that's looking at, enhancing your company's online presence, looking at everything around, the correct platforms to use, the most up-to-date platforms to use for creating, cost-effective content for online and social media, develop a media strategy for your chosen company. So the way you communicate, knowing your audience, knowing what your audience, looks for when they go to you, and how to talk to them as well is very, very important. And I suppose looking as well at the changing nature of people. So before, if you had a problem that you wanted to solve, you might say, oh, look, I'm going to Google it. I'll go to Google, I'll type in my query and I'll search. Whereas now people are really leaning on, social search. So they'll now go to the social media platforms, they'll search there, they'll look for answers to their problems there. So a typical example for that might be if you're doing like a house renovation, then instead of Googling something now, you'll actually go on to the likes of a Facebook group and you'll type in, right, have people been having a discussion around this? And, they find that it's a lot more, I suppose, relevant and maybe informative place to find some answers that they're looking for. Digital PR as well, so gain a proficiency in using the appropriate technologies for online communication. So that really ties in all of the online aspects, the platforms that you can go to, and looking at the online side of things. Information design will be delivered by Elaine. So building on like your content creation, this kind of delves deeper into it, understanding the information or the key aspects of information design, looking at your color, typography, and how important that is as well in the overall aesthetic of your messaging and your brand. Information design theories, and then later on you're looking at, designing a website, positioning your brand online. We see a lot of companies nowadays, they say, sure, look, I have a social media channel, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, all my audience is hanging out there. But we've seen when the switch goes off and there might be a blackout, whether it's Instagram was down Sunday night for a while and there was panic on other channels saying what's going on. So, you need to be thinking about that as well with your brand and having that presence. So having a website is really important. Then in the spring, we'll be looking at identifying communication strategies. So that really centers around your legacy media. So understanding how to get your event into the news, and it might be simple to some people, but for others, it's a real head scratching exercise of, I have an event, it's coming up next month, but how do I actually, build a buzz around it in the lead up, get people to know that it's on, and then create a buzz afterwards of saying, look, the great event I had, and all this went on around it. So it's developing a clear strategy around that, and just to get that going. Media literacy as well, I think, is something that is so important. Sorry, now just after flying out of that, is so important to learn to critically read and analyze, various forms of media. There's so much, around misinformation, disinformation, fake news, and everything like that. So it's important for people to be critically aware of how to, understand that and understand where that lies as well in the landscape. So that's a real, overview of the key features in the content. There'll be a portfolio 1 and portfolio 2 then that goes across both semesters that the learner will be looking at. It's a hands-on learning experience as well. I suppose, look, what will happen is the learner will engage in real life scenarios, workshops, case studies. We'll be bringing in industry experts. and I see some of them are on the call as well today, and just to help us to guide and shape, what's practically going on the ground as well, and what's happening in industry, and they'll provide, real life situations for us. There's no exam in this, so it's very practical, and it will ensure that once the learner goes away, they'll be able to apply the skills and the knowledge and the expertise and everything that they have. They'll be able to apply it in real world scenarios and be able to go back to their chosen companies or their companies that they're working in, and be able to apply everything that they've learned, which will be great for them. Just some of the technology, and as I mentioned, this could work now, but in 3 or 4 months' time, we might say, right, actually scrap that. We'll use something else that might be more useful. Canva is a great cost-effective one for content creation. For you can build websites and everything on Canva now, so that's always great. So you have your analytics, MailChimp for email marketing, and I've included just some other ones there as well, the likes of InShot for mobile phone, video content creation and things like that just help, I suppose, keep costs down. So just depending as well on where the learner is coming from. They might be coming from a large multinational where costs mightn't be as important as maybe somebody who is after setting up their own company and want to just manage their own messaging and their own outputs and want to keep costs down as well. So we'll cater for that. The course, then, just the demands of the course, because I know it's always important when somebody's about to sign up for something. They want to know, right, I have a busy lifestyle, a busy work day. What's this going to mean for me? How is it going to look? So we're thinking the start date will be around September 18th. It'll have an introduction week, a 6-week course. Each week there'll be 1 hour asynchronous, so you can dial in on your own terms when it suits you, when you get a bit of downtime, and listen to and watch some content which might look like 3 15-minute videos, 10-minute videos that you'll be able to digest yourself and look at in your own time. Then we will always have a live hour per week, and then 1 to 2 hours of your own work, which will be you reading some maybe academic work and also doing your own assignments that we will have gone through in class, and then you go and apply it to either real world scenarios and things like that. And at the end, I suppose the main thing is the learner will go away with a portfolio that they can then draw on and use the skills and knowledge that they have learned to apply it to the real world in their own workplace. So Claire, that I suppose is a very quick whistle-stop tour of what the PT, PD and communications and digital PR will look like, and I hope it has given some insight into what it'll look like in September.
Brilliant, Eva. Thank you so much. That was so comprehensive. As a Marcoms professional myself, I'm really enthused by this programme. We know right across the comms sphere, regardless of where you sit or what role you occupy, if you sit still for too long, your skills become rusty. It's so important to stay ahead of that curve and make sure you're up to date, especially in kind of embracing technology and the various different platforms that are used, and the software programs that are used on this program definitely will respond to that call to make you a sharper professional. I've made a note, Eva, around communication skills are an assumed skill sometimes in industry, but it's actually the good to great story that we're trying to appeal to here. It's, having a baseline of communication skills is one thing, but having sharpened communication skills and knowledge is really elevating your position in your workplace and also for your career trajectory. So that's fantastic. Just also coming back to what you were saying about those real skills, developing out that portfolio. And I suppose if someone were to go cap in hand to their employer and say, I'm really interested in doing this professional diploma in autumn, it's, how does this benefit that employer? How does it benefit the industry that they're in? So having that portfolio, that body of work that you can fall back on to say, this is all that I've learned and these are all the key takeaways. That's the true difference, I would say. So I just wanted to ask you,
just in that instance as well, like, we'd ask the learner probably to base their company, use that as their, their company of choice throughout what they're doing, so that, they can go back to work even weekly and say, listen, I have an idea, or we've discussed this in class. And that's where I suppose that the 1 hour online each week, there's great peer-to-peer learning, and often somebody could be from a completely different industry in the class, but you can get different ideas then from those industries that you wouldn't normally get if you don't do a course like this, which I always find fascinating as well. They could be from completely different spheres, but once they're in a room together and they start discussing ideas, you can find that there's a lot of similarities and things that they can kind of really gain from each other.
Yes, absolutely. That kind of transdisciplinary opportunity is fantastic. Just one question, actually, if you don't mind, or two, actually. I'm going to put in two, but I'm conscious of our time. Would you mind giving us an example of an activity that you'd set for learners on this programme?
Yeah, so maybe like a sample activity, Claire, might be at the very beginning of the course, right? You might say, okay, let's look at we would do a bit of work on social campaigns, whatever, if we're looking at our first one, to go and analyze what an organization might have done around an event, their social media campaign around it. So to look at what they did good, what were their strengths, their weaknesses, and then what could they have done better? Did it land right? Did it hit the right tones? Was it did it get picked up in other media? Was it picked up in any legacy media or things like that? So they'd apply then their learning. So they'd be looking at this, looking for, I suppose, how to be critical around it. And then when they go about doing their own, and when they go about, I suppose, creating their own media plan, they have all this in their mind then of, right, this is what didn't work for such and such an organization. How can I implement my own plan in a way that it will land for me? And it just gets them thinking. And often it's when they kind of go outside their own industries as well and analyze, what's going on, they do get great ideas from it. So it's just interesting. That would be just a quick example of something they could do at the beginning of the course.
Fantastic. Okay, that's great. So it's, again, going back to what those key takeaways are, they're more meaningful because you're able to apply them to your own situation, your own role, and your own industry. So it's great that opportunity presents itself on this programme. Last question, is there a bite-sized option available if someone weren't able to commit to, say, a professional diploma, but they were interested in dipping their toes in before making that bigger commitment?
Yeah, so we have some micro credentials, Claire. So the two that we have here are the digital PR for enterprise and the identifying communication strategies for enterprise as well. So people can just, either do one or both of those if they want, just to do a kind of a pick and mix option.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. Aoife, you're off the hook. Keep your questions coming in. I can see the questions are starting to appear in chat. We really welcome and encourage them. Aoife, thank you so much for that fantastic presentation. We are moving on. So we're going to move on now to our next online professional diploma, which is data communications. We are joined by Dr. Fergal Quinn, who's an experienced lecturer and course director with over 10 years experience in University of Limerick and Dublin City University. Fergal brings a wealth of experience in researching, teaching, module and course design, both in-person and online oriented, as well as over 10 years in media industry as a journalist. Fergal takes a creative, practical and industry-oriented approach to teaching and course design and constantly seeks to innovate alongside industry trends and developments. Joining Fergal to present is Dr. Niamh Kirk, who is a lecturer in data journalism and social media and course director of the MA in journalism in the Department of Journalism, School of English, Irish and Communications. Prior to UL, Niamh was the Microsoft Newman Fellow in Digital Policy, working with the Centre for Digital Policy in University College Dublin. She was awarded a PhD from the School of Communication, Dublin City University in 2019 with a thesis focused on transnational digital information flows. Over to you guys.
Okay, thanks for that lovely introduction, Claire. I'm assuming the slides are coming up okay and you can hear me okay, right? Okay, so Fergal Quinn is my name. I'm just going to give a very brief overview of what data communications is really, what it's for and how this course is laid out. I suppose, first of all, you might be asking, what exactly is data communications? In a nutshell, data communications is about using data to tell stories. Now, you're all aware we live in hyper-digitized environments. That pedometer on your phone that's counting your steps right now, the card swipe that you use to pay for your coffee, or your ID allowing access to the work car park, everything, all of that was a data point, and they all of these little bits add up to huge data sets about what we do and when we did it. Interpretation of these data sets then drives decision making in commercial and public settings, where and when are resources needed, who should get them and why, etc. So the problem is that the data often looks like this, complex, like lots of numbers and squiggly lines, etc. And the people who generate the data, coders, techies, etc., they're often not that great at explaining it. Unclear explanations often leave us with more questions, I suppose, than answers. So this course is designed to kind of empower you in this process, whatever your background is, by helping you understand better where the data comes from and showing you how to better analyze and interpret it, and ultimately tell a story in a way that your audience, whether they're potential customers, colleagues, employees, or whoever, tell a story that they can understand and they can use. Okay. So that's what data communications is, and that's what this course is designed to do. So to just go through how the course is laid out. So the first 6-week block, and again, the design is similar to the one that Aoife went through in the previous section, but the first 6-week block includes 2 modules, one on intro to data communications, just a practical and theoretical overview of how data is created, organized and communicated. Information design focuses on how to effectively use things like typography, graphics, screen layout and whatnot when communicating information. In semester 2, advanced data storytelling goes deeper on how to interact with large data sets and use them to generate clear stories. And data analytics with R looks at how to use R, which is kind of a simple programming language, and just looking at how that can be used to interact in simple ways with data sets. So and then 2 portfolio modules involve kind of collaborating with fellow students to map out what the data communications fields look like and consider how it might be useful in your specific industry going forward. So Niamh is going to go a little deeper now in showing you how skills you'll learn on this course can be applied.
Thank you very much, Fergal, and thanks everyone today for your time. So I'm Niamh Kirk and I'm an instructor on 2 of the storytelling modules on the data communications course. And I'm just going to offer a quick overview of the content and a quick demonstration of the type of things that we'll be doing on these over the course of the 4 modules. So there is an abundance of data available to us, oceans compared to what we had 10 years ago. And over the course of these modules, both the storytelling and more technical modules will be learning to work with a wide range of available open source data, as well as sector specific data, and learning how to best make use of them by developing an understanding of good practices on how data is gathered, created, analysed and communicated, to re-engage with some of the basic technical, numeracy and statistical concepts that are needed to be able to read data and to interpret data-driven research, practice extracting narratives from data and creating impactful visualizations, and developing those transferable skills within and across sectors that allow you to be able to better communicate with stakeholders and the public, as well as interpret and respond to data-driven issues within your sector and also in wider society. Sometimes data can be a little bit intimidating. We're gonna move on from this slide, Fergal. So just to highlight that, yeah, sometimes data can be intimidating, and it can look like this, where you get multiple columns and hundreds of rows. But it is much more manageable than you think. And through this course, both on the communications and the more technical aspects of it, you'll learn to work with the data and make it more meaningful, enhancing your literacy and enhancing your ability to work with different types of data and data sets. So for example, yesterday afternoon, I went to datagov.ie, one of our large-scale national open source public archives of databases that we'll be drawing on. And I just chose the most recent publication and downloaded it. So here we have a list of what are called our heritage trees in Ireland, our oldest trees. And you can see here there is a lot of data, and the trees have their botanical names and all different codes. So in this case, it's really just as simple as adding, you can see here, the common names, the popular names of our heritage trees to make this data a little bit more engaging and a little bit more relevant to a wider audience. And between the data visualization and the storytelling modules using these open databases, we'll develop and learn about how to create engaging ways to present data and different styles and different formats for different types of audiences. You'll also find new ways to create and have some fun while learning about the simple statistics you need to be able to describe and present your data, such as sampling, averages, means, medians, and also how to work through interpreting it. As with this data, as you can see with this data, we will also explore some of the more innovative ways to tell stories and to create visuals that is in line with your company's or organization's brand identity and visual communication culture, and also communicate in a way that is beneficial to your stakeholders and also to the wider public. And there are ways to share, also learning ways to share and distribute your content across social media, which are substantially visually based platforms. So here, for example, using the exact same data set, I just made a simple map of the trees' locations across the country, added some information about, where they are and various pieces of data about them, explaining why they are where they are, why they're not where they're not, and being able to highlight some things of interest to potential audiences, travellers, botanists and plant lovers alike. Similarly, as well as working with these larger open data sets, we'll be learning to build our own databases and to be able to draw on industry reports and surveys, which can sometimes be long, with multiple questions and answers and seem relatively disjointed. In these courses, you'll learn how to extract compelling and engaging narratives from these more complex data sets, as well as how to develop shorter and more focused and impactful short reports. For example, here, this is a technical report that I did with the Centre for Digital Policy, and you can see there are about 14 answers and multiple ways to analyse the data. There's information about schools, banks, travel companies, but when we look at two key parts of this and synthesize them, we can tell that there is a very clear narrative emerging around public trust in government compared to digital media companies. And this, while it is in line with academia and, standard technical report publications, you'll also learn how to effectively visualize these kind of narratives for different audiences that are suitable across different types of media as well. So thank you very much. That is a very short introduction to the type of things that you'll be able to do. Looking here, relatively simple to medium type work, with the option or the capacity to build and do a little bit more complex data visualizations as the course goes on. So thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Fergal and Niamh. That was so interesting. I think we should have looked at the title "Storytelling with Data" actually, because it's really about the story that crafting the story from data sets, but crafting it in a way that accurately represents that data. Would that be fair to say?
Oh, yes, and to some extent, but I'd also say that in terms of communications, we're also very aware of the multimedia nature of this. So it's not just about producing graphs. You will have to be able to describe your graphs, and hopefully there will be people asking you about your information and your data as well. So learning how to be able to communicate it on radio and to public audiences in a very casual and meaningful way that can make complex numbers actually very understandable and interpretable by somebody with no experience.
Okay, great. Okay, so going back to that number piece, hanging on to what you just said there. I suppose, communicators would spend so much of their time crafting that content and the content creation, but just going back to the numeracy, do you have to be good at maths to do this professional diploma, or do you have to have a kind of a high competency in maths to do this?
Do you want to take this, Virgil?
Sure, I think it's very important in terms of how we designed this and conceptualized this program, is that we're trying to be the link between the techies, the numbers heads, the hard maths people, and those of us, and I put myself in that category, who worry and kind of fear numbers. So no, this is very much set up for beginners or people who don't have much competence, or don't have much confidence with maths, or may have better capacity in that area than they realize. So we're trying to pitch all of this content to be kind of accessible for people from all types of backgrounds. That's really important to us. Because I suppose to be able to, like, you really need to be able to communicate this effectively. You need to be able to communicate it to an audience who often has a poor understanding of numbers. So that's a really important aspect, and we kind of urge people who might be worried in that regard, that, oh, I can't go into this area because I'm a little bit afraid of maths, to not be afraid, I suppose. And myself and Niamh and Fumi will hopefully be trying to guide you through not being afraid of numbers as much in the future.
Very good. Okay. Thank you so much for such a fantastic presentation. We're going to move on to our third communications programme. Just don't forget to hang on for the chat on ChatGPT with Professor Patrick Denny straight after this programme spotlight, and keep those questions coming in and we'll keep answering you on chat. So we're moving on to our Professional Diploma in Digital Content Development now, and we're joined by our course director, Dr. Elaine Walsh. Elaine is a technical communication and instructional design lecturer here in UL. With 20 years of experience in delivering online distance education programs, Elaine has extensive expertise in e-learning, technical communications, instructional design, and online program delivery. Her research focuses on online pedagogy, communication, and assessment design. Elaine, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm handing the virtual baton to you now.
Thanks very much, Claire. I'll just share my screen. So maybe somebody give me a shout if you can't see the slides.
We can see them.
Very much. So as Claire said, my name is Elaine and I'm the course director for the Professional Diploma in Digital Content Development. And today I'm going to talk about who this programme is for. I will give a brief overview of the content of the programme, and then I'll also talk about how the programme is structured and how it will be delivered. So the Professional Diploma in Digital Content Development focuses very much on the essential work skills that are needed by professionals in the modern workplace, namely writing, teamwork and communication. The programme is suitable for people who already have developed these skills but lack a formal qualification. So they would have a degree or postgraduate qualification in an unrelated field, but they don't have a qualification in a related field such as technical communication or instructional design. And they want to get accreditation of the skills that they have developed through gaining a formal qualification. But the programme is also suitable for people who are moving into this field or have recently moved into this field, and they have recognised the need for and the value of these skills. So, for example, the communication skills, presentation skills, collaboration, and they want to develop these skills and get a formal qualification. So essentially, the programme is for people who want to upskill and consolidate their skills. So there are 6 modules on the programme, but I'm not going to talk about the future focus modules. I will talk about the 6 ECTS credit modules that I will be delivering. So the 4 modules that I will be looking after and I will be delivering and teaching are the workplace communication skills, learning design, professional writing, and the information design. So the first module, the workplace communication skills module, as the name suggests, focuses on communication in the workplace. So success in the modern workplace requires effective communication and collaboration skills. And the topics that we will cover on this module, just to give you a sort of a brief look at it will include things like interpersonal, intercultural and non-verbal communication. And we're going to be focusing on developing your presentation and your interview skills and the ability to work within virtual teams. And this is really, really important because good communication skills benefit your career advancement and organizational reputation. The learning design module, this will essentially involve the application of learning design theories to develop online courses and training manuals. And the professional writing module, we are going to be focusing here on developing good professional writing skills. So we're going to be focusing on professional writing style and with a particular focus on creating content for digital environments. And looking at new paradigms as well, such as things like topic-based writing, user experience writing, and micro content. And the final module, the information design module, here we're going to explore how you design information. So our aim here is to create content that helps people to learn, use, understand, and interact with information. So to give you an example of the topics that we will cover, we'll be looking at color, typography, screen layout, design principles, and data visualization. And you might be asking, well, can I do this program while I'm working? Yes, of course you can. And it brings me on very nicely to my next slide. So it is designed specifically for people who are in industry. We are going to follow the UL academic calendar on this program. So we're actually starting with the 2 modules on the right-hand side, the professional writing, module, and then we'll move on to the information design module. So we are starting on the 11th of September. And I would recommend that you do make yourself available the week beforehand just to do a sort of an orientation, get yourself familiar with the university and the virtual learning environment that we're going to use. And I'll be available for a live chat to go through the program in a lot more detail at that point. The delivery format, so each of the 4 modules will be essentially a block of 7 weeks, so 6 weeks of teaching, followed by a week for you to work on your assessment. And they will be done back to back. So we will do the professional writing block first. Once that 7 weeks is done, we will move on to the information design. And then after Christmas, we would do the workplace communication skills, followed by the learning design module. Each of, essentially, just to give you an overview, each of the modules will be delivered through a combination of lectures, labs, and tutorials. I won't be requiring you to be available at any specific time during the week. So while I will have live sessions that you may attend if you wish to, it won't be mandatory. All of your lectures, labs, tutorial activities you can do in your own time. So for example, the lectures would be, I'm aiming for 10 to 15 minute videos that you can listen to. The labs will be demonstrations. I will demonstrate the software that'll be recorded, but I will actually give you activities to do as well. And then all of the tutorials will be e-activities. And I have been working very much with industry to ensure that those activities are relevant to industry. So that's really important. Obviously, there will be X amount of time, give you a guideline of about 6 hours a week for self-directed study. And there will be master classes on most of those modules as well. And the master classes will be delivered by people in industry. And I have been working with industry partners to ensure that they are relevant. The assessment, I won't go through in too much detail, but just to reassure you that I will have been working with industry to make sure that they are relevant, that they will develop the skills that you will need to succeed in the workplace and in these relevant industries, and that they reflect real world practice. So, you know, it's important that you get to practice the sort of activities that you will be doing in the workplace in this environment and get feedback from myself and from your peers. So that is it. I'm short and sweet on my presentation. So I will come back to you now.
Thanks so much, Elaine. That was fantastic. Just looking at the course structure and layout, there's big emphasis on design, content design, and the approach that you take. And I suppose that is so important in the newer landscape where there is heightened awareness around accessibility. And so there is a newer need now required by all across industry to make sure, I suppose, the content and all of the assets, whether they're online or print collateral, respond to the checklist around accessibility, and I suppose the nature of how we present content and the nature of how we communicate that content. So there's a great value add in that program. It's quite it's quite timely, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So just in relation to the master classes, and we should have actually mentioned all of our UL at Work professional diplomas. We offer master classes throughout all of our programs, and that really is to nurture the learning experience with a wider industry voice, to foster stronger connections between the learning and the workplace. And I know that you and I had a discussion around the master classes that would work for your particular program. Just wanted to ask you, do you need to have, so again, going back to the technical, do you need to have a technical background to sign up for this program?
No, so while we do require some work experience, it's the skills that we're particularly interested in. You don't necessarily have to come from a technical background to succeed on the program. Okay,
great, okay. And then what particular software do you use on your professional diploma?
So at the moment, what we're planning on using, so I talked to our industry partners to make sure that I was covering the sort of common software that they would use and to make sure that it was relevant. So we're looking at things like, we're going to be looking at HTML, XML, data, Canva, probably look at a couple of websites, ones like Wix, Weebly, new Google sites, and we'll probably also look at things like Adobe Photoshop, and I might do maybe Powtoon and some, if I'm probably going to do some of the Microsoft applications as well, but I'd be looking at them in a much more advanced, the advanced features, not the basics.
Okay, so you've mentioned some really great relevant tools there, so it would be great that key takeaway in terms of those skill sets and being able to actually use all of those applications is a great coup. So okay, Elaine, thank you so much. Keep your questions coming in and we'll be answering them throughout. We're going to move on now, and we are on the move and we're going to talk about ChatGPT now. So we know of the disruptive impact that ChatGPT is having right across industry. But for the purposes of this webinar, we really wanted to focus on the impact it's having on the comms sphere and in particular content creation. Here to enlighten us, we're delighted to be joined by Professor Patrick Denny, who's in the Department of Electronic and Computer Engineering at the University of Limerick. Patrick has extensive industrial and academic experience with over 20 years of automotive engineering experience internationally as a senior engineer designing and developing radio frequency and imaging systems for pretty much every car brand. I think, Patrick, you have BMW, Daimler, Land Rover, Ford, Volkswagen, Audi, Volvo, and other major car companies. I'm going to have to ask you what car you drive after this. Professor Denny has founded several conferences, working groups, and standards bodies, and has an extensive portfolio of patents, products, and publications. His experience includes imaging systems, sensing, industrialization, artificial intelligence, and computer vision. Dr. Patrick Denny, you are most welcome to this webinar. Thank you for taking the time out to offer that valued voice to a concern that really is rippling across all corners of industry. I might just open with, can you talk to us about the challenges being faced in communication roles recently?
Yeah, I can. I think there's an enormous number of challenges that are being faced right across the board by everyone in every kind of job. And I mean, when you look at the communications industry, you have increased competition among yourselves. Businesses are looking for people with the best skills. With the rise of social media and digital marketing, there's really a lot more competition. And now your companies are looking for professionals who can really stand out from the crowd and create high quality content. Another concern is that you have a lot of fake news and misinformation. So the spread of fake news, it's a real challenge for communications professionals, and they must work to ensure that their messages are accurate and reliable, while also combating false information that can damage any brand that they're trying to represent. And it's harder to discern facts, and basically audiences lose faith in the messenger. So that's a very dangerous situation. And you have a third problem that, you know, really with the growth of social media and with the basically sheer volumes of data, and the speed of the data, there's an awful lot that can go wrong. So you have to repair things far faster than you would have had to in the past. So the volume of information has increased, whereas our capacity to consume it really hasn't. So that makes the communications professional's job really, really difficult. And you know, that's something that that needs to be addressed. And this brings us to kind of the tools, and this is kind of what I wanted to highlight here, because as you see, I have no slides. One of the reasons I have no slides is everybody who presents on AI at the moment will have a slide with killer robots in it or something like that, and I just wouldn't have been able to resist the temptation. So I suppose the question that I'd like to answer is, I was asked to speak about ChatGPT. Now, so the question really is, what is ChatGPT from the perspective of a communications professional? So what you'll have seen a lot in the media recently is there's been a revolution in AI in the creation of what are called large language models. The idea behind them is pretty simple. So they take a prompt like, write me an article about artificial intelligence, for example, as an input. And then the LLMs, as we call them, output an article based on the prompt. So you have an input and an output, simple enough idea. But the modern LLMs can create text, music, video, computer code, websites, you name it, based on input prompts. And ChatGPT is really just one example of that family. Now, a lot of what I teach, I go under the hood with these things. I suppose I'm one of the backroom people that you communications protect from the public and vice versa. And I would teach my students on professional diplomas courses how to go underneath so that they can understand how these technologies work and how they can actually build these technologies. And so ChatGPT, you can look at ChatGPT as kind of a conversational AI platform that really enables businesses and professionals to interact with customers in a more personalized way and to generate all these kind of media outputs. So really, in summary, it has the potential to really transform the way businesses communicate with their customers, and it gives greater efficiencies, profitability. It allows you to do more with less because you have these powerful AIs in the background, and it leads to a lot of competitiveness in the digital marketplace. So it's a particular challenge for communications professionals in that way, and an opportunity.
Yeah. So, like you've mentioned, efficiency. Is efficiency the only benefit to ChatGPT?
No, absolutely not. One of the great things about ChatGPT and technologies like it is that it can leverage the vast amounts of data that it's been trained with to even bring about certain things like personalization. So you can give a more personalized message, and you can do it very, very efficiently. So there's a lot of benefits in there. You can basically you can customize responses based on customers' preferences and on their interactions. You can refine your message to the type of audience you think you have. In doing that, you can improve the way customers, when I say customer in the very general sense, you know, people who are receiving your messages and acting on it in a way that you'd like, you can improve the sense of loyalty they have, because you're able to give them messages in very, very quick time. You're able to give them the sense that they're being looked after. It's quite customized, and you can do a lot of personalization like that. Now, the personalization isn't perfect yet. There are still language barriers in the sense that a lot of this stuff works very well in English, but when you go to other languages, it's a bit more difficult. But again, that's being overcome as we find more and more that you need less and less data to actually realize these technologies. There's technical limitations as well. So, for example, I could tell one of these engines to write a sports report, for example, and it could write a pretty convincing sports report, but it might run into problems like, you know, putting in the right score. It's not designed to think that way. So you would have to have additional means of making sure that the scores are built in. A simple example that I've given before is I once asked it to write a biography of me, and it did a pretty good job. It got about half the facts right, and the facts that it got wrong were very convincing. It talked about where I went to college and things like that, but to a college I didn't go to, but it was very convincing. So there is that problem there of personalization.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, continue.
Yeah, but a key thing there is, you know, it also allows communications professionals to really streamline the work that they're doing, because it can take away a lot of the grunt work, and that really allows you in principle to focus your skills more on adding value in a different way. You know, yeah. the grunt work aspect will lose value and become automated. And there are dangers in that, and there are opportunities in that. In principle, you can get to the wrong answer faster. So that's a problem. But you can also, if you get good with these tools and you're actually able to leverage the skills and knowledge and common sense and critical thinking that you already have, you can use them really, really well. So, okay. so these things really shift how your time is used and how your skills are focused, and displace some of the tasks that were considered part of the communications profession and replace them with others.
Okay. So what you're saying is, I suppose, going back to, it'll take a lot of the grunt work out of it. So yeah. you'll be focused on the top end, really, that strategic.
Exactly.
So you'll be sitting in that strategic place as a comms professional more and more.
Exactly.
So it's taking some of the legwork out of it potentially, maybe, is it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a bit like, you can compare it. You should really look on these things as tools, very, very powerful tools. So, I mean, for example, I'm an engineer, and the toolkit available to an engineer nowadays is totally different to the toolkit available to one 40 or 50 years ago, but we're still engineers. And the fundamental value adds that I would have, or an engineer would have, is a good capacity for problem solving, you know, critical thinking, all of these kind of skills. The tools underneath that enable and allow me to realize solutions to problems, that shifts. What is happening now is the degree to which the tools has shifted is like nothing we've ever seen before. So, for example, when I was teaching courses in March, the week before I presented to my students, I had to fundamentally change some of my teaching materials 3 times in 1 week as the news came out, and I had to figure out what the nuances of these new technologies were. So people were basically did a whole course with me where none of the technology they were being taught existed before 2018.
Yeah. So that just goes to show how quickly we need to be able to move and keep up and stay ahead of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a fascinating topic. I've spoken to you a dozen times before about this, and we could stay going for the day talking about it. But I appreciate that insight, and I know there are a lot of comms professionals on the call who will also appreciate that insight too. So thank you so much for taking the time to come on and add that valued voice to our webinar session today. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire.
So we are we're actually 1:53, so coming to a close. I just want to highlight actually that wraparound message there around the application deadlines for our programs. So the application deadlines for the 3 professional diplomas that we've discussed today is August 17th, okay? But I'll caveat that by saying they are new programs that are responding to in-demand skills. So we expect to be busy with applications. My recommendation is that if you are interested to make an application without delay, and our admissions team will kick in and assist you with that. If each program fulfills its numbers, we will be closing out in advance of August 17th. So, you know, we really do recommend that you make that application. You'll have links to all of the programs in the chat, and I'll also offer a follow-up email with those links again. You'll see on each course landing page there's an Apply Now button, so just click into that, fill in the application, and our very helpful admissions team will get in touch with you. We also have a new Master of Professional Practice, which we're officially launching tomorrow. We're very excited about it. It's an innovative and one-of-a-kind programme, and it offers you the opportunity to gain a master's degree by stacking 3 professional diplomas. So it's very unique because it offers the opportunity to stack across disciplines. So it really speaks to that T-shaped professional that we know you need to be to succeed. So more information can be found on this. I'm going to put a link in on chat shortly. How are we? Are we okay? If there's no more questions, I might actually bring the webinar to a close and maybe give you back 5 minutes of your lunch to grab a coffee. We hope this session was informative and worthwhile. Please stay in touch with us. Reach out if you have further questions. We're here to help. I'm going to leave our team email address on chat, and I'll also follow up with an email with some further contact information. We're here to help you on your learning journey. Thank you so much to our course directors for taking the time out to present your professional diplomas. Thank you so much to Professor Patrick Denny, and thank you for joining us here today. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.